There was nothing left when it came to a relationship with my parents. I felt no need for school, so I just stopped going. Life was a joke and I didn't care. I ended up leaving my mom's house to stay with a friend because I couldn't live there anymore. At the time, I thought she was the problem. I'm sorry for that. I ended up sleeping on a cold tile floor, and the father of my friend had no clue. I couldn't be in the house during the day or else he would have found out, so he had to sneak in and out every morning and night. I ended up getting fired from the part-time job that I thought I could support myself off of. In order to get money, we started scamming people and selling fake drugs. We stole food to survive because we could never bring ourselves to actually buy any. We had other priorities. We would dig through the garbage for receipts of high-dollar items of convenience stores that we would steal and sell back to them. We would stand on the corner of the gas station and ask the same people every day for money because our car broke down. Neither of us had cars. And to top it off, my girlfriend was a drug dealer. God knows that didn't help. This went on for over 8 months. Being around someone all the time meant that I had less time to invest in myself. In my opinion, considering the stage I was in, that was one of the greatest things that could have happened to me. I didn't want my friend to know that I was an occultist, and I clearly didn't want him to know that I had another friend which he couldn't see. But most of all, I didn't want anyone to know that what I thought about while I was alone. My thoughts were my greatest fear, and keeping them secret meant the world to me. I had had some telepathic experiences and have even witnessed full conversations without anyone involved ever saying a word. This was real to me, and still is. I became paranoid that I wouldn't be able to keep my secret, so I tried to end all communication with Clyde. He didn't let go so easily. Instead of his voice, I began hearing the voices of people around me and thought I had broken past a certain barrier in my mind that would actually allow me to do so. I could hear the voices of people around me and have entire conversations with them. When I'd go and ask them if they had really been there at the time, they had no clue as to what I was talking about. Clyde had me believing in another lie. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what to do about it. I couldn't get him to leave, and I couldn't get the voices to stop. I don't know exactly how I came to this, but I guess one day I just had enough of the way I was living. I called my grandma and asked her if I could move in with her, and she said yes so long as I got a job and came to this new church with her and my uncle. I didn't care. I needed to get out. This was undoubtedly the work of the Holy Spirit. When I moved out, the voices got angrier and became more intense. I continued doing drugs, but not nearly as heavily. Church was the most difficult place for me to be. While people would praise and worship, I struggled to stand. I would get hot and start sweating, get nauseous or dizzy, tense up and have trouble breathing. A few times, it got to the point where I would need to leave the building altogether. I dreaded going to church because it was painful. I had no clue why. Time went by and the voices got worse. They would scream, they would curse, they would abuse me. My depression had gotten to the point where I contemplated suicide every day, but I could never actually bring myself to do it, which gave them just another reason to torment me. I began cutting myself to take away the attention from my thoughts and emotions and onto my physical feelings. It was like a new addiction all over again. I don't know what set me over the edge, but again, I had just had enough. Enough of the abuse and enough of the voices. I had to find an answer. I had read a lot of New Age books about controlling your mind, so I thought I'd turn back to them. Eventually, through this search, I stumbled upon Buddhism, which, if you don't know, has a lot with cultivating your mind, and aligns almost perfectly with Christianity, but without God, and that was exactly what I felt I needed. I couldn't believe in a God. To quote C.S. Lewis, it was all the thrills of religion and none of the cost. But how could I believe in God if my question had still yet to be answered? Buddhism definitely opened my eyes to a lot of new concepts and ideas that I had never taken into account before, and I believe it taught me a great deal. Buddhism breaks down and explains the parables Jesus speaks to those who are hard of hearing, and for that I am grateful. I started seeing a psychiatrist and had hope that someone else could fix my problems for me. Unfortunately, that's not the way things work. I started giving up on the idea that she could actually help me, but thought maybe medication could. I am still unsure of what any psychiatrist could have possibly done for me or anyone in that situation. In order to qualify for medications, I had to go down to a mental hospital and get checked out. I overqualified and was Baker acted. They held me there against my will on grounds that I was a danger to myself and to others. That was one of the most frightening experiences of my life. I got out because luckily my dad is as hard-headed as I am and is apparently very intimidating. It took him 3 days to do so, but he did. I remember perfectly the day I got out. I went to a show that our church band was playing at, and they had opened for 10th Avenue North, but I didn't know who that was. During the time I was in there, they had me on both antidepressants and antipsychotics, and when I left, they gave me prescriptions for both. When I had got back to the real world, I stayed on the antidepressants, but the other medication was far too expensive. Something was pushing me, something was calling me. I could feel it, but I didn't know what, so I ignored it. The antidepressants gave me the ability to start thinking in a more rational sense. And the more rational I became, the more afraid I was. I stopped cutting myself and stopped doing pretty much all drugs. I was headed down the right path, but the further I went, the more demonic these voices became, and I had realized it. I didn't create the voices in my head, they were demons. I confronted them and they admitted it, but because they still knew they had the power to reign in my world. I can't properly describe what it was like trying to sleep every night to the sound of screams, or the kind of influence they had over me. I literally was their possession. I belonged to them. I knew exactly what they were, but no matter how hard I tried, I still couldn't believe in a God. Their influence seemed too strong. I would try reading the Bible, but that was more painful than actually going to church on Sundays. And trying to read it aloud made it even worse. I met with a guy named Rob at church one day and we decided to hook up and go out for coffee. This became a routine and we talked about everything. One day he told me just to give God 3 weeks and see what he would do. I took this to heart, but put it off for a while. It was just so difficult for me to grasp the concept, but I did. I gave God, or the idea of God, 3 weeks like he had said, and I lost count of the days about a week through. Ever since then, I've just been completely on fire for God, and he's just done so many supernatural and amazing things in my life, and you can clearly see in my testimony that I've been placed step by step by step. He's led me to be who I'm supposed to be, who he wants me to be. I no longer I no longer take antidepressants. I'm not depressed anymore. I stopped taking my antidepressants because I literally started feeling too good, like I was cheating at life. I was back in school, and now I have a job, a full-time job almost, and the voices are completely gone. I don't struggle with drugs anymore. I'm just so on fire. God has done so many great things in my life, and I really hope this testimony touches you in some way.